The Steelers training camp underway right now in Pittsburgh. Work getting underway to improve on what we saw happen to the Steelers at the end. At the end is the key word here of last season. Of course, ultimately losing to the Browns here, the wild card round of the playoffs. Last season, the Steelers started off hot, going 11-0 for the first time in franchise history, only to fall to Washington in Week 13, lose their next two, and then, of course, ultimately losing to the Browns there again in the wild card round. We got Big Ben back, apparently a slimmed down-ish version. Taking a look at the Steelers' odds, though, for the beginning of this season, looking ahead to the rest of the season, they are okay. Plus 400 to win the AFC North, but that is sitting well behind the Ravens and the Browns. All this week, we are giving you a tour of training camps across the nation, and today we head to what is sunny Pittsburgh as of right now, where we find former Steeler, two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, I already know you got up at like 6:45 this morning, working out. You're going to put on a helmet, get back in all of this. Of course, you're very excited. Let's dive in. We got Big Ben returning for his 18th season. He is 39 years old. We saw the pictures of a more slimmed down-ish Big Ben. Give us your expectations for him.
Well, clearly Big Ben is motivated. I mean, he has nothing else to prove when you look at the individual numbers. He should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, two-time champion that is, but he is motivated. And the reason why I believe he's motivated, he has basically revamped his body. You just talked about the slim Big Ben that we now are currently watching. I think that tells us how much of motivation he has in him, not to mention trying to be able to create another narrative within his career, within this organization. So I know he's fired up. The entire team is fired up as well, and it's going to be a thing of beauty when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, what they have on paper, to be able to put some of those outstanding skill players and Big Ben on the grass and be a successful offense, not to mention a successful team in totality.
B-Mac, Steelers had a complete overhaul of their offensive line this offseason. They landed five-time Pro Bowler Trey Turner. Said recently that he sees this as a new era for him. But besides him, the other projected starters, they don't have a whole bunch of starts between them. Will this overhaul actually work for them?
It better. It better work, because we saw the decline from the offensive line play towards the end of last season. But guess what? Only one of those experienced starters will return. You talked about an overhaul, new faces and new places. They better be able to do their job extremely well if they expect to be successful on the offensive end. The issues running the football, Amanda, last year, they were well documented. And because of the issues, guess what? In the first round, they went out and got the best running back that was available in Najee Harris. We know what type of talent Harris is. We know what type of bruiser he is. But if the offensive linemen are not doing what they're supposed to do, he will look like an average back, to say the least. So that is the biggest concern I think I have when you look at the offensive line. So many new faces and new places. Will they be able to establish the continuity, the rhythm, to be a consistent unit, not just in run blocking, but also protecting their quarterback in Big Ben?
You mentioned Najee Harris there. I want to talk a little bit more about him. He's already made his own splash this summer. Of course, former Alabama running back Najee Harris is the guy we're talking about. He is a favorite. He is not the favorite, but he is a favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. When it comes to the Steelers' offense, can he start to bring a little balance to them?
I think so. I think he's a superior talent. He's a guy that can do the dirty work when it comes to running in between the tackles. He's a guy that can take it to the perimeter and extend plays. He's a football player that happens to play the running back position, and that has been the calling card for Pittsburgh in drafting players, especially guys on the offensive end, being able to get a football player that happens to have a position, and that's Najee Harris. And one thing that I like about Najee Harris, he's a three-down running back. He's a guy that is an exceptional talent in catching the football, and the last time they had a do-it-all type of running back in a Steeler uniform, that guy was Le'Veon Bell, and he did some prolific things during his time here in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying that Najee Harris is Le'Veon Bell, but he has some of the same skill sets that Bell displayed here in Pittsburgh. Catching the football well out of the backfield, being a reliable blocker in pass pro, being able to be disruptive in running the football and getting into the end zone. Najee Harris has all of those skill sets, and I believe he's set up to have a huge year if he's healthy.
Juju Smith-Schuster on a one-year prove-it deal says he turned down some great opportunities to play elsewhere. That is what he is saying. But he said he stayed because of loyalty to his team, to his quarterback. Now, he also acknowledged, look, I know I got to do better to increase my own value. He wants more money. So can he do that this season?
He better. I mean, Juju did not get the deal that he thought he would get as a free agent this past spring, right? And because of that, he took a one-year deal. Good money, but not the money that we all thought he would get maybe 2 years ago. So he understands this is a pivotal year for him, not just from the team standpoint individually, because he believes he's a #1 wide receiver. And remember the concerns with Juju. When AB was here, Antonio Brown, can he be a #1? Last year, he didn't really display that skill set consistently. You know what I mean? So he has to be able to do that from week 1 to week 17 if he wants to be in that conversation of an $18 to $19 million a year wide receiver. We know he can do it. We know he has reliable hands. We know he can get into the end zone. It's about being consistent in doing so, because they need him to be that #1 guy in this offense when it comes to catching the football, because he means a lot to Big Ben. He means a lot to the organization. And for him, when it comes to his pockets, if he want to fatten his pockets a little more, he better go out and ball out. And I think he realizes that. And I'm expecting big things from Juju Smith-Schuster this year.
B-Mac, let's go to your specialty. Let's go to the defense when it comes to the Steelers. Melvin Ingram telling reporters this week he feels like he is a kid in the candy store to be joining the Steelers defense. Unlike their offensive line, we know this defense is at the top of the league. How elite can we expect this defense to be again this season?
#1, I was so excited when they went out and got Melvin Ingram, because one thing about Pittsburgh, anytime they've had top-tier like defenses, they have 2 outside linebackers that can go put pressure on the quarterback at any given time. We saw that the last few years with Bud Dupree and Watt. You lost Dupree, but you're able to get an experienced guy who's been known to cause havoc in rushing the passer throughout his career, especially when he's healthy. So #1, that was a big-time plus. And because you're able to add a guy who's been known to put quarterbacks on their back to your defense, that improves the entire defense from the first level, second level, and third level guys. So I love where they're at currently right now defensively, but in the secondary, I have a few concerns. Outside of Joe Hayden, you have Cameron Sutton, who will be making his debut as a first-year starter. You know, in the rotation no longer. He is the guy. Will he be able to uphold and do what he's supposed to do, starting opposite of Joe Hayden? Not to mention the depth, the lack thereof in the secondary. And then you lost Vince Williams, who retired unexpectedly last week. Depth was already a concern at the inside linebacker position. We saw that last year when they were dealing with injuries, but now losing a guy who was a vocal point on the defense, a vocal point in the locker room unexpectedly, that could be a hurdle to climb as well. But they have some pieces in place, and they believe they will be able to find a plan outside of Vince Williams to be able to be a stand-up type defense. But once again, this defense will be good. Will they be as good as the team that we saw last year before the injuries? We have to wait and see. But I can easily see this defense being a top 10, top 5 unit when it's all said and done.
B-Mac, it looks beautiful out there. Enjoy your time. Have so much fun the rest of today and training camp. We'll make sure to check in with you soon. That is our very good friend, Bryant McFadden. If you didn't know, and I'm not sure how you wouldn't know this, but if you do not know, B-Mac, along with his very good friend, his cousin, Patrick Peterson, they got a podcast there, All Things Covered, getting ready for the start of the season. Also talking to some of the biggest recruits and commitments going into 2022. Make sure to download and follow. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.